So the focus today will be expanding on some of the tools from last week. So last week we had some great discussions. I talked about writing a blues song, and some of you really were helpful, and that you had a go, and that you wrote a blues song. I haven't done this very often, trying to get the angle of the camera right and everything, so I can see you all. Alright. So last week I came up with the idea to share with you, and hope you go away and have a go at writing a blues song. You know, that sort of do 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 do. The aim was you to start to make fun, or not fun, have fun with thoughts, to start to exaggerate them, reframe them. I suggested the idea of taking your kids in the garden to play hide and seek, and when they were hiding, you said you're going to count to 1,000, and you come back in, sit and read a book, watch the telly for a bit, get a peace and quiet, make that into a song, so the kids outside to play hide and seek, you know, that kind of thing. Just build it up, because the more, there's a strange process, and a sort of catchy way of thinking it is the more the more. The official name for it is Hebb's law, and it's about neurons and how they fire together and make connections. But a nicer way of thinking of it is the idea of the more the more. The more you do something, the more you remember it. The more you do something, the more of a habit it becomes. The more you do something, the more useful it is, the more automatic it becomes. Hi Alan. Unfortunately, with things like anxiety, the more also works. So the more we think about the news that's on, because we're being loaded constantly with facts, but rarely ever the good facts, rarely ever the nice facts, the facts of how people are showing improvement, rarely ever the facts of recovery, sunshine, other countries are not being affected, rarely ever those facts, just the facts of how many deaths today, how bad it is, how everyone's so short of PPE, constant stream of negativity. Now that kind of viral loading, that's the term that's being used on the news, viral loading. The idea that health workers that are working in this situation are so immersed in it that they're getting higher dosage or higher loading. But we're getting viral loading from news, and this constant loading of negativity and fear. It's important, remember, it's important to be aware, but this constant loading affects our brain process. So last week I talked about the reticular activating system, which is what you focus on is what the filters let in, and when those filters are built, that's what you start to see around you. So again, I'm just going to call it this week the more the more. The more you think about it, the more you focus on, the more you do, the more those patterns build. So the more you worry, hi Steve, the more you worry, the more you focus on the worries. The more you practice, the more you watch the news repeatedly, the more you think about how difficult it is to get your shopping delivered from Asda or wherever it might be, the more you focus, the more the filter. Okay, so I'm just going to call that the more the more. Now, our brain doesn't know good or bad, it only knows learning patterns. And it's very good at learning patterns and running those patterns or programs. And so if you can retrain those patterns, the more useful patterns will run instead. Okay, so instead of your brain defaulting to, here's a problem, the more I think about it, the more I see it. Here's a problem, pause, what other choices do I have? How can I think differently? How can I act differently? One of the advantages of this social distancing is I don't have to speak to some of the idiots that come into my life. The great thing is, with the internet, with phones, I can speak to the people I care about more often, and that's been great. The other people who bump into your life that you sort of walk down different streets sometimes to avoid, don't need to do that now. So I'm having quite a nice cleansing from those kinds of people. And I get to spend my time talking to the people that I care about. Anyway, let's get to this. So hopefully everyone's coming in. Again, just to refresh from last week, I did the blues song and I had some good examples I suggested one, and I wrote a quick one called the Corona Blues, and other people started writing songs too. So hopefully that you spend some time between then and now having a go. Remember, the more silly, the more exaggerated it. Somebody said the phrase is, let's go to the land of ludicrosity. I thought I like that. The more ludicrous you make it, the more ridiculous you make it. So the land of ludicrosity. I'll mention that again later. Right. Okay. Any questions you have, just post them. Hopefully I'll catch them. If I don't, I'll certainly will answer them afterwards. Right. So some tools. Some tools. Okay. Just a reminder for those people who don't remember. Our brain is designed to fire off to protect us, and the amygdala fires off with any kind of stimulus. It looks at a problem first, then looks at a solution. But you have to retrain this so it doesn't go off all the time to every single thing that could be perceived as problem, from tripping over the carpet to a siren going past. And one of the negative sides of this social distancing is it can become a bit social isolating, and so it becomes easier and easier to sit and go inward and reflect and worry, rather than taking it as a time to catch up on jobs that you haven't been having time to do, to speak to people you haven't spoke to enough, to do the things you want to do. I can imagine later in the year, or certainly next year, that the open garden competitions, when they come round and watch you, have a look around your garden and give out awards for the best garden, I can imagine there'd be a lot more entries, because certainly a lot more people really look after the garden. I've started to find out just how much I enjoy trimming, pruning and tidying, and how nice it all looks. Where in the past I always said I don't have time, but now I do, and it's looking great, and I can imagine that being entered into the competitions next year. Anyway, the more you start to teach this, what to focus on and what to not, the more it goes off proportionately. So if you're going to trip, you go, and you go, no, that's okay, I'll caught my balance. But if all you do is sit and allow it to keep thinking, big problem, big problem, big problem, big problem, big problem, big problem, the more it builds. So the grounding exercise we did, relaxation techniques we did, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, all help build, the blues song, all help you to build better patterns. Because the more you can interrupt, the better those patterns can be. So the first new tool I'd like to give you today, I'm going to call this keeping a joy journal. I call it this because people are always keeping a worry journal and listing all the things out loud or in their head, all the problems that could happen, and keep stacking them. So they've got this big list of problems. So what I want you to do is start to create a joy journal. I want you to start each day by reviewing and planning what you'd like to be doing, instead of which people wake up in the morning and review and plan all their problems, how things could go wrong, how difficult it's going to be, what they can't do, and they can't get this and they can't get that, and they can't go here and can't go there, and how difficult it's going to be, how long it's going to last, how they're going to cope. So people start in the morning and have regular reviews throughout the day, call it a problem journal. So I don't want you to begin the day with that sort of, let's use the phrase, don't begin the day in bondage. Hey, that's your choice. Luckily it's a one-way video. Don't begin the day in a bondage of worry. Begin the day with joy. So I want you to do some things like think of people who made a positive impact in your life. List 3 or 4 things that you really do well and that you enjoy. Write down at least 5 things that you like about yourself. Maybe you've forgotten, it's been a while since you've done these kind of things. Think of a time when you had so much love in your life that you could almost have burst. You feel so happy, so alive, so much love. You could be any time in your life. You had so much of it, just remember it and replay it as a movie in your mind. Think of some of your favourite things, your favourite physical activities, the stuff you did as a kid. I remember we used to call it brook bashing, which really meant just jumping across the local stream. And one of my favourite memories, and it seems silly now, but we had a friend whose nickname was Kung, and we jumped across, and he jumped and he grabbed a branch, and the branch snapped and he fell into the river. Now I say river, it was really a stream, and it wasn't even deep enough to get past his shoulders. If you put your foot in, it wouldn't have covered your shoe. But it was lying there in the river, and we were trying to. He was shouting, get me out! I'm going to drown!" There wasn't even enough water to cover his shoes, and we were supposed to try and get him out, but we were all laughing so much that we just couldn't stand up. Eventually, we dragged him out and we walked home, and he dried off in the sunshine. I guess we were probably around 10, something like that, 10, 12, somewhere around there. But just the memories, and I can still remember where it was, in Bourneville, jumping across the streams that we used to call the foxes, back and forth, as a kid. Those kind of memories. Some of his favourite physical activities were jumping off things, climbing over stuff, climbing up stuff. Hey, as a young lad, that's what you did back then. Think of 5 qualities of friends and partners. Think of 3 times of inner peace and serenity. My wife used to like to call these, you having one of those World's a Wonderful Place days, when I'd be walking along and I'd be smiling for no other reason than the world was a wonderful place. The birds were singing, people were doing their daily things, nothing to do except just be involved with the day. I remember even sitting in the back garden, listening to the birds, watching the dogs play, feeling the sun on my face, feeling so calm, so peaceful. So think of 3 times like that. Make notes, fill out the details. And the more sensory rich you can make those memories, so you remember what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, what you smelled, what you tasted, make it as sensory rich as possible, and relive that like a mini movie, playing it and having that peaceful state. Think of somebody that you might forgive and how that would change your life. Somebody that you get frustrated by, somebody that has annoyed you. But if you forgave them now and let that go, just accepted what had happened and let it go, what difference that could make in your life, what tension that could release, what ruminating thoughts that could release, how much happier you could become. Who do you laugh with the most? You know, there's kind of belly laughs, there's laughs that make you snort sometimes, there's laughs that are just for nothing much, but you laugh so much at the silly faces they pull, the silly actions they do. It could be anything at any time. Who do you laugh with the most? Remember those, make it sensory rich. Recall that feeling, so that laugh, a whole full belly laugh, chest laugh, the sort of laugh makes you cough up your pop. Remember a laugh so much. Remember a time when you laughed so much. You might have been with that person, but you laughed so much that you nearly fell over. Your legs went weak. You could hardly stand up. Just that time, like when Kung fell in the stream and we couldn't get him out. Laughed so much, you just hadn't got the strength to stand up. That kind of laugh. We fell over laughing. Remember that phrase? I fell over laughing. Remember a time when you laughed so much. It mightn't always be easy, but because if you've been bound by a day of worry, if you've been caught in that bondage of stress, then it's hard to break free initially. Yet the more you practice, the more. The more you practice remembering things you enjoy doing, people that are important to you, memories of happiness and joy, and memories of serenity and peace, things you like about yourself, all that list, and I'll go through them again in a moment. The aim is to start to build this joy journal so you can start your day with joy. Again, you can write this list on a card. People who have made a positive impact on your life. 3 or 4 things that you really do well. 5 things that you like about yourself. A time when you had so much love in your life that you could have burst. Think of some of your favourite physical activities you did as a child. Think of 5 qualities of friends, family, your partner. 3 times for inner peace. Something that you might, that if you were to forgive right now, would really make a change in your life. Take away those stresses, those worries. Somebody that you laugh with the most. Remember a time when you laughed so much that you just fell over, you didn't have the strength to stand up. If you wrote those 10 things down on the card, then every morning you can start that as your joy journal, read those thoughts, read those memories, replay them, and then be bound by the day's happiness. Your brain doesn't default to here we go again, your brain defaults to new opportunities, because the more the more. Next, I'll call this stop the dance of chaos in your head, because that dance of chaos, that my wife likes to call it, your brain joyrides, and it does, it joyrides, it gets caught up in all kinds of worries. But if you start to stop that dance of chaos and take more charge of it, more control of it, it becomes much easier. So you can, until you can stop this self-talk, until you can halt this negative chatter, the brain will default to that as a problem, because the more the more. So you practice your mindful relaxation, you practice your 5-step grounding technique, what you see, what you eat, what you hear, what you feel, what you smell, what you taste. Get yourself into that neutral state. Focus on your joy journal. Interrupt those patterns of thoughts. I used that word a little bit earlier. The patterns in mental health, or well, in all kinds of talking therapy, psychology and so on, they get mental programs or patterns. They're called schemas. Now a schema is a program, is a pattern, is a process that runs. And we have a schema for everything you can think of. It enables us to function. A schema for cleaning your teeth, a little mini program that when you get up in the morning, you go to clean your teeth, you know which tooth to clean first, which order, how long it takes. Yes, you might have an electric toothbrush. It says each quarter, 30 seconds. Yes, it'll be available afterwards, Susie. So you can watch the video by going back onto the Active Wellbeing Society webpage. Plus also all these videos that are being run through the Active Wellbeing Society will be available on their YouTube channel afterwards. And again, if you just request a copy of the notes, I'll message you a PDF which you can download, which will have lots of helpful tools, relaxation techniques, self-coaching techniques, these 10 points I've just mentioned, things like that. I'm not going to repeat myself, but hey, the more the more. The more you practice, the more relaxed you become, the more you practice teaching your brain to do your things, the more it does what you want it to do, rather than you just let it joyride and do what it thinks it wants to do. There you go. Thanks, Hermit. You just got to scroll down to videos, they'll all be there and you can watch them. And as I say, there'll be a link to send them up to YouTube afterwards. Each of them are gradually appearing onto the Active Wellbeing Society YouTube channel. So they'll be there forever and ever. But initially, they'll be on the Active Wellbeing Facebook page. Just click on videos. So back to this anyway. So stop this dance of chaos. Do your mindful relaxation and physical activities. Some of you have been taking part in. There's a great thing, and I'll go back to patterns in a moment, but people have got confused a little bit over the years with the idea of what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is being taught as a kind of relaxation, yet that isn't really mindfulness. Mindfulness is a, yes, I will sort it out for you afterwards, I'll send a PDF out. Mindfulness is a way of being mindful, being present in the moment, and a byproduct of being mindful in the activity that you're doing is that you become relaxed. It's not a relaxation technique. The byproduct of doing it is that you become relaxed. So you can be as physically active as you like. So if you join into some of the classes like swing and Zumba and drum and bass, or even Tai Chi, doesn't matter how active or how slow, you join into some of the physical activities, if you do your gardening, if you make Easter cakes, whatever you're doing with your attention, because you are attentive to, you are mindful of, that becomes a mindful exercise. Now, the most wonderful byproduct of being mindful is you are in a relaxed state. And the more mindful you are of something, the more your brain learns. The more the more. The more mindful you are of what you're doing, where your body is in space, the weight your hands on your legs, the type of music you're listening to, juggling, painting, doesn't matter what it is. an activity that you're doing. You become mindful of that activity, and when you're doing that, your brain does not have capacity or ability to learn or think about anything else other than what you're doing. So in that mindful state, you relax. Because who dances and thinks about paying a credit card? Who's cooking and thinking about what programs they're going to be watching on TV? Who's gardening and then doing other stuff? One task, be mindful, be relaxed. So join into some of the exercises afterwards. All the videos are there. Just click on, find the type of music you'd like, find the kind of exercise you'd like, just put it on and join in. The more you do it, just let yourself go. Hey, wear your party pants. One of my wife's favourite books is called Wear Your Party Pants. And the great story is about this woman talking about a mom, and a mom would say, well, you never know. Why can't do that, mom? Well, you never know. Don't use those best classes. Well, why is that? Well, you never know. You'll never know became an excuse for everything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't wear your best shoes. Well, why can't I wear my best shoes? Well, you never know. Never explain what you never know is. And so she said, well, I want some really wonderful knickers, get some nice pants. And her mum eventually gave in and bought some pretty ones. Not usually just functional pants, but some pretty pants. And she said, can I put them on? And the mum says, no. She said, why not? I says, well, you never know. Well, you never know. What it really meant was you never know if something really important comes up where you'll need that just in case. So you should always look after it. It's all to do with scarcity and the war years and things like that. But if you keep these things forever and never use them, they'll be pristine, but you'll never get to enjoy them. So how about this? I'm suggesting to you, wear your party pants now. Now the great thing is, if you're at home and you're joining into the exercise, any pants you like, we don't even need to see it because it's a one-way video. You watch the videos, you join in and dance in your party pants. Because the more you do that, the more you lift your state, the more you lift your state, the more. Okay. So interrupt those patterns of thought. Practice, dance, enjoy. And when you're doing that, the more. The more you interrupt those patterns, the more you do other things, the less your brain can default to them. Because the pattern starts when you trigger it. So you trigger it, interrupt it, and trigger a different way of thinking. The more you practice, the more you relax. The more you enjoy, the more you laugh, the more you remember, the more useful those patterns become. Anxiety has a purpose, and its purpose is to protect you. Its purpose is, like the amygdala does, its purpose is to trigger off is there a problem? Is this a worry? Do I need to concern myself? Most often, there isn't. But it doesn't know, so you have to interrupt it, keep interrupting it, and so it knows only the right times. You interrupt it, you enjoy, you wear your party pants, you smile, you laugh, you remember things you do, you laugh so much you can't stand up. Then you're going to practice turning down the volume. Because if that chatter is going off in your ear, and it's saying, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, you'll hear it. So turn down the volume. Now, I'm definitely of a generation where things had dials on them and slides on them. You didn't do this on your phone or swipe. You just turn things. So I want you to turn down the dial, that noisy chatter, turn it down so it becomes quieter and quieter so you can relax. Because when you relax, things become easier. You can be relaxed and active. You can be relaxed and quiet. But relaxation enables you to slow your breathing, to feel calm, feel happy. Okay? So learn to quiet that mind. Learn to turn down the volume. The other phrase thing is, when you listen to that voice that's talking to you, it's never talking in a nice way. It's either or it's naggy, 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 naggy. It's never nicely. So if you think of the other voice, the voice that you hear sometimes that says, you're doing great, you're really enjoying it, you're fantastic. The voice that you've heard in the past that said, you love what you do. That's fantastic, you did a great job. That voice is a different tone and it usually comes from a different place. Maybe it's this side, maybe the naggy one's this side and the other nice one's this side. I don't know, it's yours, not mine. But when you listen, that nice voice, turn that one up. And the horrible voice, turn that one down. So this one becomes better. Happy, fun, enjoyment. Now my plan was today was to do this outside because it looked like such a lovely day. But it's a little chilly. But it's only a little chilly right now. So put a coat on, get out in the sunshine. Yesterday we sat out, had a good time, did some WhatsApp chat with my kids that are in different parts of the country, but they're staying in. And even the grandkids, it was funny because watching the grandkids driving their parents insane because they were high on Easter egg chocolate that we'd sent down. Oh, it was good. Watching that, they got to deal with them when all we had to do was say, have a lovely day, and end the conversation and giggle. Yes, the wonderful reward of being a grandparent when you can watch the kids drive their parents insane as yours did to you when you were younger. Okay, right then, some other comments. Let's look at some tools. So I said earlier that these programs that run in our mind, these schemas are like patterns. You know, patterns, they start and they run. They start and they run. And when they run until they finish. You know, so you know, for example, if you clean your teeth, you know about how long it takes, and you know when you're finished. You know when you clean each just enough, whether it be electronic one, say beeps every 30 seconds, and then double beeps, buzzes to know you finish your 2 minutes. You know, so you know when the pattern starts, you know when you've done the stages, you know when the pattern finishes. That's how patterns work. For anybody interested in looking up, it's called a TOTE model, T-O-T-E, which is trigger, operate, test, and exit. So trigger, the pattern starts. Operate, you do the process or the pattern of cleaning your teeth, whatever it might be. And you test whether you've cleaned them enough, give them a lick or know the time, and when you've done it enough, you exit and you put your toothbrush away and give your mouth a swill and carry on with the day. Wherever it might be, you're making a cup of tea. You're thirsty, that triggers a thought. You operate, you boil the kettle, you get the cup, you make the cup of tea. You test it, is it the right colour? Does it taste nice? If it is, then you exit and you go in the room and sit down. Watch Last of Summer Wine or wherever you're watching Judge Judy or read a book. Sit out in the sunshine and drink that lovely cup of tea. Test, operate, test, exit. Or trigger, starts, operate, do the process, test if you've done the process enough. Yes, you can finish, you can exit. And that's what a pattern is, or a program. Now, those patterns are great when they're helping you, but those patterns of thought are also the ones that cause problems. You trigger, you think, I know, I'm just going to nip down the shops to get such and such. Oh, operational phase. Oh, I can't go out, I can't go out. And then you test, you keep winding yourself into a terrible state until you wind yourself into a better state enough that when you test it, you feel absolutely crap. You can exit that strategy and start the next pattern of doom. But you interrupt that pattern, ground yourself, what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you smell, what you taste, wear your party pants, whatever you do, interrupt that pattern. Because patterns, you know, they are prior experiences, they are previous representations installed and operated in a structured way, and they are causing you issues. And you don't want to do those anymore. They run non-consciously, they run unconsciously, they run in background. So when you start to notice them and interrupt them, you can take control of them and reprogram them. Never moan at yourself, because moaning at yourself does not stop patterns. Noticing that you're doing them. Like any skill, if you notice what you're doing, think, is that what I want to achieve? No, that's not what I want to achieve. Okay, what would I like to do instead? Now, an interrupt can also be the questions that you ask yourself. What would I like to do instead? If I was to do that, where would I start? As soon as you say if, I'm going to do it now, if, as soon as you say if I was to do that, where would I start? Your mind has to imagine that process and that acts as an interrupt. If I was to do the gardening, where would I start? If I was to choose an exercise, what type would I like to do? If I was to plan out my tea, what would it be? If I was, if. When you start to do that, your brain interrupts that other thought and starts to do the new thoughts that you're creating. And the more you do this, the more. You start to improve your awareness. This is the whole aim. Because if these patterns are running non-consciously or running unconsciously or subconsciously, whatever word you want to use for it, if these patterns start because of some kind of trigger, they operate because of the processes been driven in the past, the priors, and you're going to test whether you've done it enough so you can feel good enough or bad enough. It doesn't really matter till you conclude it and you can exit. If they run automatically in those 4 stages, if you can interrupt them, be aware that they're running, in fact almost congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself that you managed to run that pattern so successfully, so consistently, that you know you can do it easily. If you ever wanted to feel that way again, all you need to do is that. Now, there's no complaining, just know it exists. If you're aware of it, you can improve it. You can interrupt this non-productive pattern. You can redirect it to something more useful. So you can do something different. And when you do something different, your brain learns by difference. So you do something different, your brain realises now it has another choice. You didn't realise. A pattern is automatic. It doesn't consider other choices. When you go to clean your teeth in the morning, you don't think, do I clean my teeth with my left hand or my right hand? Which colour toothbrush should I do? Excellent, Susie. Literally pat yourself on the back. In fact, you can even call it a stretch. You can do a stretch, pat. That's the way, Susie. Give yourself a pat on the back, and you can even wind it in and make it part of your stretch. It's a really important thing to do. The more you reward yourself, the more you please yourself, the more you say thank you, the more your brain will default to that pattern. That's excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Anyway, when you do things different, your brain learns, because it learns by difference. An example, I mean, when things are the same, your conscious mind tunes out and they just run in the background. Like cars driving past. I live near a main road and you don't notice the cars after a while. That's why when a siren happens, it switches on, it switches off and changes. Because if it was consistent, your brain would tune out. We learn by difference. We notice difference. So a siren comes on to make you aware, it switches off and changes to make you aware. And the more we do this with patterns of thought, the more we interrupt them and do something different, your brain learns by difference. It realises there's a great choice. So just like Susie, if you went for a run and give yourself a pat on the back, that's excellent. I know when I walked my dogs this morning, I walked a different route because yes, I get into a pattern of the same route, but I walked a different route and they got to enjoy it too. They got to have new smells, new sniffs, new look arounds, new sights. It was different and I enjoyed it too. Somebody pulled up in a truck, he was lost and wound his window across the other side of the cab and asked me if I knew where such and such was, and that interrupted my pattern as well. All of these little changes our brain learns by difference. So I got to view something different, the dogs got to view something different, and it's a lovely day. And I'm going to go out as soon as this session's over to enjoy the day some more. Okay. Plus, you need to repeat the interrupts, because these patterns that you have been running throughout the day until they become automatic. So you need to practice interrupting them several times a day. So if a thought comes in your mind, interrupt them, do something different. Go back to your 10 things list that I gave you earlier, and that we'll post to people who want it, or you can watch the video back. Go back to interrupting those patterns, go back to changing your thinking. The more you interrupt the patterns, practice makes perfect. That's a phrase, isn't it? Practice makes perfect. Just the same as the pattern of anxiety and fear and worry that people have been running, they've been practicing and making that perfect. Interrupt those patterns, become more aware of them, and run better patterns. Because practice makes perfect. The more. Interrupt them several times a day, create new behaviours, go for a run, do some cooking, look up a recipe, phone a friend, all the stuff you can do to create new patterns. Now have a sense of humour. The aim of the blues song was not to write a song of doom, it was to exaggerate to absurdity. It was to write a song, the silliest thing you could do is write it to a blues song and exaggerate it. And the more silly it becomes, the more funny it becomes. Remember I said, go to the land of ludicrosity. It's a new wonderful place that people should go to. So you have a sense of humour, which switches you and moves you to the land of ludicrosity. The more you practice, the more you frame, the more you reframe. Now, here's a silly little thing. Now, I don't mind what your choices are about stuff, but my wife's a nurse, and some years ago, What often happens in the hospitals and doctors' surgeries is patients do hopefully have gratitude for the work that all the NHS are doing, because we all do at the moment. My wife's been a nurse for so long, and now and again patients will bring in tins of sweets to say thank you. That's been really helpful, is some sweets. And so lots of times at the surgery there'll be lots and lots of sweets, and invariably staff are on lots and lots of diets. But no one ever likes to, when you say no thank you, I don't want a sweet, I don't want a cake, because sometimes as a person it gets offended. So she once said, no thank you, I'm pre-diabetic. Now everybody is either diabetic or not, and if you're not, you could be calling yourself pre-diabetic because you have the opportunity to become so. So she said, I'm pre-diabetic, and the other person heard diabetic, and they said, oh, sorry about that, would you like something else? No, I'm fine. So when she said I'm pre-diabetic, the person didn't get offended because she didn't actually say no. She had a genuine reason, or what appeared like one. And I was telling another friend this, and he laughed, and he said he's going to a barbecue, but it stuck in his mind. And he phoned me the next day, so I went to this barbecue, and they were cooking the food, and it just didn't look really good. I didn't like the way it was being handled, I didn't like the look of it. And then he said, do you want a burger? And I said, no thank you, I'm pre-vegetarian. And he said, oh, sorry about that, do you want some salad, do you want something else? I said, no, I'll be okay. But instead of him saying, no, I don't want, the food looks rough, he said, no thank you, I'm pre-vegetarian. And I love that. I love the idea that you can say you pre any of these things. So when people are worrying, they say, oh, this is really, really difficult. Says, I can appreciate that, but I can't really discuss that at the moment because I'm pre-silly and I'm pre-funny. Because when you become pre-anything, you can choose what it pre is, because you can reframe it. You're pre-giggler. You're about to start giggling, you haven't quite started yet. Interrupt the patterns, reframe the thoughts, change the way you're doing what you're doing, because the more, the more. Okay? Remember, the more you relax, the more relaxed you become. Like Hermie. You can use those two. You can have pre-vegetarian, you can have pre-diabetic, or you can make up your own pre-anything. And pre-watching the telly, I don't mind what you want to call it. Just have a better choice, interrupt the old patterns, use a list of 10. I'll just refresh that list of 10 for you again, but I will put them back on. Oh, it's on here somewhere. With me. I'm getting there. Reframe. Here we go. Right then. So the 10 things were: think of people who made a positive impact in difficult times of your life. List 3 or 4 things that you do really well. Write down at least 5 things that you like about yourself. Think of a time when you had so much love in your life that you could have burst. Think of some of your favourite physical activities you did as a child. Remember I said jumping over streams, brook bashing, climbing trees. Think of 5 qualities of your friends or partner. 3 times of inner peace and serenity. Think of someone who might, if you have to forgive them, that might make a real difference in your life. Take away that stress, that kind of thinking. Who did you laugh with the most? And when did you laugh so much that you just fell over? That your legs went leaking, weak, and you couldn't stand up? When you practice those 10 things and you build that joy journal, it makes a real difference. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off now with a bit of relaxation. So you sit your feet comfortably flat on the floor, hands in your lap. Now, if you're holding your phone, just to hold your phone in a comfortable way so you can relax more easily. And just allow yourself to be aware of the weight of your body, tension or ease in your muscles, your feet on the ground, even aware of your breathing, just naturally in and out. Because as you allow yourself to become more aware of you and you right now, You can notice your breathing. You can notice your heart rate. You can notice the sounds around you and the space you occupy, and how comfortable you're beginning to feel. Because as you breathe and you become aware right now, you can relax much more easily than you even thought that it was possible. It is possible. Because as you breathe, you relax. You reflect on those times of serenity and peace, and those fun things you did as a child. Hey, I'm reflecting on the fun things I did as a grandparent, giving the grandkids those Easter eggs, and watching them like kids on speed makes me smile. So you relax, you breathe, you feel calm, you feel comfortable. The more you practice, the more relaxed you become. The more naturally you breathe, the more peaceful you become. The more. So keeping that wonderful feeling with you. Practice writing your blues song. Practice writing your joy journal. Practice interrupting the patterns that were negative and holding you up. Remember, you're pre-happy. You're pre-freedom. You're calm. You're in control. Bye for now.